Hello. It's good to see everyone here, entering, gathering. Welcome to the final session of the Pedagogical Development Week of this year, 2023. For you, a few hours, but for us, 55 hours later, in 4 days, we stand. And we're going to start the second episode of a series that is primarily curated to do something that is very central to the mission of Habib University, which is to acknowledge and celebrate a really, really hard job, which doesn't usually get the respect that it deserves. And I've seen that happening at many different levels. So I have tested this many times. If I just tell people about my recent achievements or work that I have recently published in an obscure journal. So usually it follows like that in a post that I'm really happy to announce that I've recently published a paper titled The Electrochemical Properties of Tetracyanokinodiamethane, studied under near-edge X-ray absorption fine structure, and I've published this in Journal of American Chemical Society. Almost everyone, I'm sure here as well, doesn't understand a thing that I've said, but I will start getting celebratory posts and remarks. People are going to clap on my LinkedIn posts, heart reactions are going to come in. And in general, people are going to be very excited about something they know nothing about. But some people would think something phenomenal has happened as a consequence of whatever is done. And I'm not just talking about the world of academics. I'm talking about everyone. My dad's going to be proud. Mere putra ne paper publish karta. Everybody's excited. They don't know what that is. But I'll tell you one thing that I've figured out. Research is easier. And I'll qualify why I say that. Because the expectations are very clear. When I entered the world of research, I knew something very clearly. There was no room for repetition of things that have already happened before. I was expected to understand the bodies of knowledge that existed, and it was expected of me to add to them. And not just to add to find the unknown, but also to question the narratives that already exist. Is this the right way to do it? In fact, one of my most successful papers was not doing something new, but actually checking that something that people in my field completely believed in was rooted in a false observation. And for decades, for 2 decades, all the experiments were built on that false observation. So it was easy that I knew that I would only be celebrated, I would only arrive at the final destination once I have created something new, a newer experience. And if I repeat what's done before, no one's going to celebrate my success. It was easy, because I knew where I was going. When I entered the world of teaching, it's very interesting how this happened. I remember the very first board of studies I was sitting in, which is not here, was elsewhere. And the discussions around the courses were centrally discussed around which author are you going to teach. And I just realized that there is a lot of pre-curated content that's out there. Someone wrote it decades ago, in some cases centuries ago, and I was expected to repeat that in the classroom. And that's what I precisely did, because the body of knowledge I'm about to teach, which happens to be physics in my domain, is preset. So I went there and I followed a pattern. And then I realized that this is someone else's content. This is someone else's way of telling this. I understand that there are natural principles and phenomena, but why am I using the language of this individual to speak about it? Why am I using the symbols that they have decided? In our field, symbols vary from one book to another as well, and there are fights, use person X or person Y. And it became all the more difficult to ask this question, that how can I have something happen in the classroom which is truly my own? That when I walk out of the class, I take pride in the experience that I've designed, which is truly my own. Which made me think in my own discipline, why do we teach a very linear system of thinking in the way we approach natural sciences? So for physics, it's a pretty set path. You start with mechanics, you study thermodynamics, you study electricity and magnetism, you throw in modern physics, you top it up with quantum mechanics, but why? And I realized there was a problem with that. I was expected to know a large body of facts, learn about those facts year after year, learn how those facts impacted natural phenomena around us, but the expectation was to know the facts. But I never created my own questions during my undergrad. Never. I never pursued an answer to a question that you might think of, a question that I love asking my students here at Habib, and probably we don't have an answer to that what is the total energy of the universe? What is the shape and size of the universe? In fact, for the very first time when I truly acknowledged the sky above me, I had lots of questions that what are these shining lights above me? And how far are they? What's happening there? I had questions. Unfortunately, none of our experiences are rooted in such questions. So I started imagining a different way of teaching, something that does not follow these boundaries. The last time I used a textbook was 8 years ago to design my course. I don't use a textbook to teach. I read quite a few of them to see what people are thinking and saying about this, but no textbook is now in my domain allowed to dictate what I will end up doing in my class. And I'll tell you, it was way harder than doing a PhD. It's very tough to imagine how can you create these experiences and how do you tell these narratives differently? How do you create these experiences and you imagine them truly to encourage a form of thinking that would allow people not to consume, but to create. And that has been a very, very tough job. Now, I'm lucky that I was able to do that here at Habib University. We are a crazy institution in many ways. While we are so zoomed in, we don't know that. If you zoom out, if you go elsewhere, you realize, wow, this is mad. We do amazing stuff here without knowing or acknowledging that. And luckily, because I've been here from the beginning, there was this understanding that everyone here was not only allowed to experiment, was expected to experiment. And so people have played with wonderful ideas on how they are going to think about a subject without fearing or focusing towards a singular discipline. To a point that the growth of individuals at Habib are unlike at any other place. They just do not grow in their own discipline only, they grow in every possible direction. I've learned a lot about history while being here. In fact, 5 years ago, I was very seriously contemplating doing a philosophy of science degree again. This time, not in hard sciences, natural sciences in terms of experimental sciences, but the pure philosophy of physics. Because I fell in love with that idea here. Now I'm interested in history of science as well. Right? And all of that is something thanks to the colleagues who keep asking some very interesting questions about our own bodies of knowledge, that sometimes we're unable to answer them, unable to imagine why I do this the way I do it. And so we started this very series, which is also a result of the Teaching Excellence Awards that started 3 years ago. And we really wanted to do what we do with research, that think and reflect why you do what you do, create a narrative around it, and with one course, you're going to touch more hearts and more people and more minds than a paper that I've written that in my entire lifetime is going to reach around 50 people or maybe less because my field is very obscure. And when they started putting those pieces together, inspiring narratives started coming up. And for the first time, I realized that a 4-year experience of a student in a university is like a canvas, and every professor comes in and places some paint there. They choose what shape, what features, what colors they're going to spread, but those 4 years are actually very, very colorful. And if you zoom in, some of those colors have been very thoughtfully designed. Why am I choosing this very shape on the student's life? And that's what we started to celebrate. We started seeing them in their Teaching Excellence Awards, and we fell in love with them. Very high emotional moments have occurred just by reading the work our colleagues are doing and the letters that students write in their support of the major changes that have happened. And this is not some obscure group of few people. Just a few days ago, I think 3 days ago, we were having a morning session with the facilitator who asked a question. Think about one thing that was considered a major success last year. Guess what people were saying? Everything that they talked about was a success of their students. The student X did this, I'm so proud of that. One of my students I was mentoring got into University Y, I am so proud of that. This is so amazing that without even realizing, the measure of success has changed from the self to a larger community. And you're looking at their success as your own reflection, and you consider it your success. I think that's an amazing achievement. Today is the same thing. recipients of the Teaching Excellence Awards from last year are amazing folks doing experiences, creating experiences that I can't even imagine. In fact, one of them created some part of her course experience for a few faculty members here a couple of days ago, and they came rushing to me and said, listen, this experience should be mandatory for every single faculty at university because it's mind-blowing. It has changed my perception of how things happen. And I don't know what that experience is, so I'm really curious. I want to go through that. So things are happening. Things are happening at Habib, which are beautiful. And we want to create this platform. In fact, we want to extend this platform so that more and more of you can come and share the inspiring work you are doing. And that is about the second episode of this series today. I welcome you all, and I hope you're going to have a fantastic time. Thank you.